Everyone says pregnancy begins when sperm meets egg. It doesn't, at least not biologically. Because after fertilization, the embryo isn't safely inside the uterus. It isn't connected to the mother's body. It isn't even in the right place yet. Instead, it begins a 6-day journey through one of the narrowest passages in the human body. And if anything goes wrong along the way, pregnancy never begins. Here's what happens day by day. Day 1, the first division. About 24 hours after fertilization, the single cell divides. 1 becomes 2. 2 become 4. Then it keeps going. Surprisingly, it's not getting bigger. Imagine cutting a pizza into smaller and smaller slices. You still have the same pizza, just more pieces. Scientists call this process cleavage, and even though it's only a tiny cluster of cells, something remarkable has already happened. The complete genetic blueprint already exists. Eye color, blood type, biological sex. The instructions for building an entire human are already locked inside this microscopic cell. Now there's only one problem. It's still trapped inside the fallopian tube. By day 2, the embryo has become a small ball of cells called a morula. Under a microscope, it looks like a tiny mulberry, hence the name. By day 3, it usually contains between 8 and 16 cells. But here's the part most people never imagine. This entire time, it's moving. Not because it can swim, not because it can crawl, it can't do either. Instead, millions of microscopic hairs lining the fallopian tube gently sweep it forward. At the same time, slow muscular contractions help push it toward the uterus. The embryo is completely passive. It simply rides the current. And while all of this is happening, it still has no blood supply. No oxygen from the mother. No nutrients flowing into it. Everything it needs is already packed inside, like a tiny spacecraft carrying just enough fuel to reach its destination. If that journey is interrupted, implantation may never happen. Around day 4, the embryo changes shape completely. Instead of remaining a solid ball of cells, a hollow cavity forms inside. Now it's called a blastocyst. This is much more than a new name. For the first time, the cells begin choosing different jobs. The outer cells become the trophoblast. These will eventually form the placenta. The inner group of cells will become the embryo itself. Until now, every cell looked almost identical. Now specialization has begun. The blueprint is becoming a construction plan. And by this stage, the blastocyst is finally reaching the uterus. You might think arriving in the uterus means implantation starts immediately. It doesn't. Instead, the blastocyst simply floats, waiting. There's one last obstacle. A thin protective shell called the zona pellucida still surrounds it. That shell protected the embryo throughout its entire trip down the fallopian tube. But now, it's in the way. Because as long as that shell remains, implantation is impossible. Around day 6, the blastocyst finally breaks free. Scientists call this hatching. Once outside its shell, the outer trophoblast cells can finally touch the uterine lining. Tiny finger-like projections begin reaching outward, looking for a place to attach. This is the first contact between embryo and uterus, but it still isn't implantation, not yet. The real attachment, where the embryo burrows into the uterine lining and connects to the mother's blood supply, takes another several days, usually finishing somewhere between day 8 and day 10, which means, after nearly a week of constant change, the hardest part is still ahead. In just 6 days, one fertilized cell has divided dozens of times, traveled the entire length of the fallopian tube, transformed into a completely new structure, and reached the uterus. Yet pregnancy still isn't established, because the next step, implantation, is where many embryos succeed and many never do. And that's exactly what we'll cover in the next video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe and let me know in the comments which part of human development you'd like us to explain next.